So we're all talking about the crazy pirates, island expeditions, our own ships and stuff for the next expansion, and the CEO of Blizzard just came out and tweeted that no pirates will be coming. However, he did reply to a tweet talking about us going back to old Azeroth, Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms, potentially revamped, and he didn't say anything in regards to that. He didn't agree, nor did he disagree. Even more interestingly, the guy that actually wrote that entire pirate hint that everyone's been talking about is no longer working at Blizzard, so the entire thing could be a complete dead end and may not actually lead anywhere. Luckily, we do have some other hints that are incredibly tied to the current relevant events, so what does all this stuff really mean? What do we know so far about 11.0? If you want to get Dragonflight or anything else Warcraft related, Gamigo has some excellent deals that you can check out with my link below. Best of all, you can get software, gift cards, a bunch of games at below market prices. On top of that, you can also use my code DORON to get yet another discount, so make sure to check out my link below and grab some amazing deals at Gamigo. While this is only really a single tweet, I think there is a bit more we can really dig up here, as it is related to us returning to the old places on Azeroth and why the CEO of Blizzard decided to respond to this, and pretty much nothing else related to 11.0, and we just have so many hints and so many speculations going on right now, as pre-orders for the new expansion were already data mined. We're going to know the next expansion in less than 2 months from this video. So other than, of course, all the old god hints, the crazy void shenanigans, we have two main hints for the next expansion, and both actually happened prior to 10.1, so we've all been talking about them for well over 6 months, and that is the return of Azshara and the Night Squall, the Night Elven pirate that pretty much everyone just saw as a confirmation of the next expansion being all about pirates. Realistically, the Azshara hint has always been more likely, because this is a document that mentions the Harbinger, the Veil of the Void, the World Soul of Azeroth, all things that tie in really well with the main storyline, what is currently going on. Obviously, void hints are happening. I mean, they're just all over the place. We can see Xal'atath in that portal. All of that is tied quite well with the recent Redicon happenings, so not a single thing has debunked the Azshara theory. In fact, the main story development has only continued to build up upon it. On the other thing, the Nightfall thing, it just kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, no one literally saw this coming. This was just a ship with some documents. This was a document we discovered about a legendary pirate that apparently managed to visit that other dark side of Azeroth to bring great plunder, and is creating a new expedition. What is really important to keep in mind is that the guy that actually wrote this quest, this document, is no longer working at Blizzard, so it is entirely possible that this might have been a setup that he created that will never actually lead anywhere. It is also possible that this was never supposed to lead anywhere. It was like a legend that they built that could eventually maybe play into something. However, as you may know, WoW is just filled with loose ends and hints that never lead anywhere. I mean, remember pretty much the entirety of Shadowlands as an expansion, all the broker stuff, the Maldraxxus being a being that is alive that we could see, and all the similar hints. I mean, it's not even just hints. I mean, we literally still have no idea where Nathanos is, and Blizzard literally placed him in the main cinematic at the start of the previous expansion, so Blizzard making hints and not doing anything on them is pretty much really normal at this point. As we know, there is supposed to be a new zone of Valoran. All of a sudden this legendary pirate appeared. It wasn't really hard to connect 2 and 2 and to say that this could be related to the next expansion. However, personally, I can't really say I ever thought that a pirate expansion would be a great idea, and that is really for 2 big reasons. Most speculations say that this is based on a few islands, but let's be real, other than the new potential continent and the Isle of Khazan, no islands that we know of are really that interesting. I mean, all of them are just tiny pirate bases, potentially some tiny human kingdoms, but nothing really that expansion worthy. The second reason, and of course the most important one, is we already had a pirate island expansion that was BFA, and I can't really say that went all that well. I mean, we had the entire island expeditions and all this stuff, and I'm not sure that Blizzard would want to repeat that once again. And keep in mind, BFA had actually quite legit meaty sources for the lore, such as Zandalar, Kul Tiras, large historical kingdoms that had a ton of lore behind them. The other islands other than Khazan are really super bare bones and really just not that interesting to create an expansion around them. However, and a big however, just because the CEO of Blizzard said that no pirates will be happening doesn't mean that we won't be sailing to a new continent. I personally never thought pirates would even be a thing. My idea from the start was that this pirate could lead us to help us reach this hidden continent, but the theme of the expansion would have nothing to do with pirates. It would be about Ashara, Void, Old Gods, the Titan Heritage, and Azeroth, pretty much what is heavily foreshadowed right now in Dragonflight. The Night Scroll guy could just be someone that knows the way that could help us reach this new area safely. Now, let's actually add some context to this as to why the CEO decided to respond to this tweet out of a million different tweets talking about 11.0, because I think the tweet was something that was getting quite a bit of traction within the community, echoing a very popular sentiment, and it is pretty much exactly what I think as well, and that is what it said. There is a misunderstanding on what the return to Azeroth meant. We don't want crazy things just Azeroth based. We want to go back to the old zones that all of us started playing on when we got the game, that is Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. People don't want pirates and pirate expeditions, they want World of Warcraft. To this tweet, the CEO decided to respond, no pirates, which in my view means that he understood the frustration and kinda assured, don't worry, we aren't going to be doing pirates, there won't be our return to Azeroth, our return won't be about pirates. He didn't say anything about not going back to the old zones or potentially even revamping some of these older zones. Keep in mind, when we're talking about old world revamp, it isn't just updating the assets so that we can just level faster and have a little bit better looking environment. It is also about making the old zones relevant again, like let us go back to Durotar or Elven Forest, updated of course, and let's do something that is related to the current expansion, to the currently relevant events. We had seen something like this back in Mist, for example, when they updated Barrens and got the Kor'kron there. Personally, I would like to see something like this happening that could follow up with a revamp quite well. However, right now all the hints are pointing that the next expansion will be related to the main storyline that is currently happening in Dragonflight. I don't want to repeat myself a million times as in previous videos, but Blizzard said that the expansion will be happening more often, we'll be getting more expansions more often. They won't be just isolated one-off things, and instead they want to keep the expansion transitions more seamless. So it is entirely possible that 11.0 will just be a continuation of Dragonflight, and that the currently relevant characters will do their thing in Dragonflight and then continue their storyline in the next expansion, where the focus will no longer be on dragons and dragon aspects, but what they had unleashed at the end of Dragonflight. Keep in mind, just a week before 10.1.7 release, we have data mined pre-order versions for 11.0, which pretty much 100% confirms that they will announce the next expansion on this year's BlizzCon in November. Even more interestingly, or not so interestingly, the fact that the pre-order information came out so soon, in a way, may confirm that 10.2 could likely be the final patch of this expansion, and there probably won't be a major 10.3 patch. There will be like the culmination of this entire storyline. We know 10.2 is somehow related to the Emerald Dream, probably the Iridikron stuff, but I feel like the entire setup with the Old Gods, the Void, and the Iridikron may just be saved for the next one and might not actually end, it might not culminate in Dragonflight. Of course, League season is just starting, so we're getting insane hints all over the place, from us going to the Ethereal Planet of Kalesh, to a Void Cataclysm happening on Azeroth, to something going on with Troll, to something going on around the Eastern Kingdoms and the Void Elves. Essentially, we have 1,000,001 hint, but at least so far we had eliminated one, and that is that 11.0 is not going to be about pirates in any way. Thank you for watching. Check out the possible playable Nerubians by clicking on the screen, and also check out my second channel for videos on Slavic pirates, real world history. See you next time.